Okay guys, here we are for lesson 112, which is about finding the least common multiple of numbers. And my daughter is still doing some dance out there. I apologize if you hear things in the background. But this is our next and last lesson for today, Thursday. So first of all, I want to remind you that way back in like lesson 82, we talked about greatest common factors, or GCF. Okay, and you'll remember the greatest common factors of a number are anything between the number 1 and the number itself that factor into that number. So like the greatest common factors of 12 are 1, because 1 times 12 is 12, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. These are the factors of 12. Anything between 1 and the number itself are the factors of that number. And if I was going to compare 12 with the number 6, I would find the factors of 6, which are 1, 2, 3, and 6. Those are the only factors of 6. Now the greatest common factor between 6 and 12 is the greatest number, or the largest number that they have in common. Okay? So these were factors, any number between 1 and the number itself. So all of the numbers, all of the factors of a number are going to be smaller than that number. Okay? Today's lesson we're going to be talking about multiples. So multiples are all going to start with that number. So if my number is 4 and I need to find the multiples of 4, they're all going to be larger than the number 4. A multiple is when I multiply a number by all the different factors to lead, not factors, but by all the different terms to give me multiples and continual multiples. So 4 times 1 is 4. So 4 is a multiple of 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 5 is 20. And 4 times 6 is 24, and so on. I could keep going, okay? But these are the multiples of the number 4, and they are always starting with that number and growing bigger. Multiples are, okay? So in order to find the least common multiple, I'm also sometimes going to call this the LCM. Just like we called greatest common factor the GCF, I can shorten least common multiple to LCM. Okay, so whenever you see this LCM, it's asking you to find the least common multiple. So if I wanted to find the least common multiple of 4 and 8, I'm going to start by listing multiples. So now I'm going to list some multiples of 8. And I'm going to start with the number 8 itself. That's 8 times 1. So 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 6 is 48. Okay, and I could go on and on and on here too, okay? Now if I look back through, I might find more than one multiple, okay? If I had continued on with 24, 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times 8 is 32. 4 times 9 is 36. Let's circle the multiples that these two numbers have in common. Well, they have 8 in common. They have 16 in common. They have 32 in common, right? But the least common multiple that they have is the smallest number that they have in common. So the least common multiple of 4 and 8 is going to be 8, okay? Let's try one more example, and then you'll be on your own to find these. Okay, let's find the least common multiples of 6 and 8. Okay, so I'm going to list the multiples of 6 first. I will start with that number. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 7 is 42. 6 times 8 is 48. I'm going to stop there. Now I'm going to start with 8. My first multiple of 8 is 8 times 1 is 8, so it's itself. 8 times 2 is 16, 8 times 3 is 24, 8 times 4 is 32, 8 times 5 is 40, 8 times 6 is 48. Okay, so again, what numbers do we have in common? Well, we have 24 in common. We have 48 in common, but our least common multiple between 6 and 8 is the lowest number they have in common, which is 24. Okay, so that's all you're doing to find the least common multiple. Remember, multiples begin with that number and they grow. They're not factors, so it's not the numbers smaller between 1 and 6. It's the numbers starting with 6 and multiplying higher, okay? So go ahead and do the 10 problems on your reteaching worksheet and let me know if you have questions. Have a good day.